bring me in warm, or you can bring me in cold, because I might be dead. Just kidding, it's me! This is why I wear a hat sometimes. Welcome, everybody, to the Resistance Broadcast. I'm John. Thank you for joining us. We are live, baby! Wake up, my kids. Let's go. It's time to talk Star Wars. Thank you for joining us on the Resistance Broadcast. John, James, Lacey, got it.
He's got it.
And we're here to talk about the latest Star Wars news. A lot of hype as we continue our march towards the Mandalorian Season 3, getting more and more excited as they release little tidbits and images and clips and summaries of the global hype of Grogu and Din Djarin. So I had to throw on the helmet because we are going to talk about some other stuff in Will of the Force too. We got a loaded show. So before we get going, I just wanted to say hi to my two co-hosts who are here to talk about, is Din Djarin gonna die? Oh my god. Lacey, you were I believe you called the image James made a bold choice.
I tweeted that it's a personal attack on me. There are days that I, just have daily things going on that I don't get to chime in with these guys throughout the day. So I actually saw that when everybody else saw it, when it was up on Twitter, and I was just like, and here we are.
Yeah, John saw it and he wrote me back and he said, hats off on that image, James.
Yes. I wish I said that. Yeah. It wasn't on the top of my head, but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was definitely a throwback to Django. So you got to appreciate the nod to prequel fans out there. But hopefully he doesn't lose his head. But it was definitely an interesting image because you could see that the helmet's in motion. I liked it. You put like the movement on it. And it got a reaction too. People, usually when we post our midday tease for the live episode, people are like, I don't care. I already know you're going live. I'm going to watch you or I'm not going to watch you. I don't care. But people were like, how dare you? Or like, wow, what an image. So it was fun. But anyway,
nice.
we'll talk about that in a bit. Just real quick, a couple things. If you are watching us, whether that's live now or later on YouTube, make sure you subscribe to our channel. A lot of people actually every once in a while are chiming in like, I had no idea you guys had this new channel. I just thought you guys vanished.
Asking us where we went. That's a lot of people being like, hey, where did you go?
They thought we vanished. Our videos disappeared. We disappeared. And here we are. But we are on youtube.com/@theresistance_broadcast for our audio listeners who are not sure where we are on YouTube. And if you are watching on YouTube, just subscribe to the channel because we have a lot of other videos that we're going to be doing. And we're going to be doing our Mando fan show as that returns with The Mandalorian and a lot of other stuff that we put on the channel. But also make sure you're subscribed to your preferred podcast platform, whether that's Spotify, which, by the way, we're getting more and more ratings on there. So thank you to everybody who's finding us there and rating us there and helping us show up in more searches. Apple, any preferred podcast app. And just so everyone knows, 1 week from tonight, it's not a race, not like a NASCAR race, but it's the TRB 600. It's the 600th episode of the Resistance Broadcast. And I believe my first episode was episode 66. So it's been a long, long time. And it's been a hell of a run. And we are just getting started, though. But we're going to do something special next week. To be honest, we haven't really figured that out yet. But we'll do something special next week for TRB 600. But I'm excited. And I can't believe we're at that number. It's pretty wild, huh, guys?
We're pretty close to 666 then, too.
Yes. For all the Iron Maiden fans.
Yeah, it feels like we've only been doing it for so long. And then you look at the calendar and you're like, it's been almost 5 years.
Yeah.
That I've been here. Anyway.
Yeah. It's nuts. It's absolutely crazy. But before, we're going to do some probably giveaways and stuff like that next week. But if you can't wait for that and you want to pick up some merch, don't forget we partnered with our pals at Gentle Giant. So go to their site, look them up on Google, easy to find. And any item in stock on their site, you can get 20% off with the code RESIST20 at checkout. So be sure to do that. And just quick bits at the top. Yeah, Groundhog Day. So happy Groundhog Day to everybody. Bad news is Grogu saw his shadow. So it's actually 6 more weeks until The Mandalorian comes out. It's being delayed 6 weeks. No, that's something else. The video game's getting delayed, I think. Jedi Survivor. We'll talk about
I was
that.
thinking you were gonna go like Poxitani Porg or something.
Poxitani pork. I like that. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know what the word is.
Everyone goes to Octo and bothers Luke for one day in February to find out. And apparently Poxitani Phil is not very good at his job because apparently he's only like successful like 10% of the time in terms of the relation of the weather.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not the Canadian one where he was dead before they even got him out of the hole.
Oh no.
That happened today?
In Canada, yeah.
Oh God.
They were
They're
like,
like
oh.
winner for 20 more weeks. Yeah.
Do they play taps in Canada? Or is that just us? Who does that?
I think that's a good point. That's a
Oh, I don't
military
know.
thing, so probably us. Yeah.
All right. Also,
They're just
quick
putting
thoughts
on the Ritz.
Yeah. Well, you know who's still alive is Gunji, the Jedi Padawan warrior that we saw in the Bad Batch. My quick thoughts on that. First of all, make sure you go to our channel that we talked about because exclusively on there is James's review of the 6th episode of the Bad Batch. I've never been this big of a fan of the whole Jedi Wookiee stuff. You know, I'm a minimalist Jedi person, and I like my Wookiees being more like Chewie. But seeing like a vulnerable, like the vulnerable, like young Wookiee, like needing his family and stuff like that, made me warm up to little Gunji. So good on you, Bad Batch, Filoni and company. You've now made me a friend of little Gunji there. So. James, any follow-ups to your review? Any reactions in the comments that you want to address here? Anything like that?
No, I just if I could sum it up or whatever, I just kind of felt like it did something in the middle of the episode and then did the exact same thing again. So I was like, oh man, like not a lot happened, and then the same thing happened twice. So a little bit of a letdown for an episode. However, I am caught up to next week's and get excited because it's about to get good. That's your double episode for the mid-season finale.
Ooh,
or not mid-season finale, but mid-season double episode thing.
Double dip. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it's great. So get excited for that.
Nice.
I think about when I see little Gungi, whatever his name is I think how James said.
I had to look it up. Yeah.
Said
I said it wrong.
his lightsaber is the best lightsaber when we talked about lightsabers recently.
I just brought it up. I wasn't even thinking about how he was in Bad Batch. It's just always been one of those things.
Yeah, and I remember seeing on Twitter a lot of people were like, when are we going to get this lightsaber hilt? Because it's just like, it's wood and it's cool. It's different.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
I also, complete side note, I don't know if we're ever going to talk about this today, which we might. I realized just now that the last time we were live was before we knew we had a panel for Celebration.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah. Yes. That good call. Yeah.
We found out on Friday when we had already done our episode. So we're really excited to say that we're going to have a panel at Celebration.
Yeah, we're doing a podcast panel on the HoloNet news stage. I believe it's still, the podcast. They just renamed it to be able to add more different types of creators or whatever
it's like the Tostitos stage.
Yeah, right. Brought to you by right. The Folgers podcast stage.
Yeah, it's the
that's really cool. Because last year we did an event offsite in Anaheim, and now we're going back in-house in London, which it would have been tough, honestly, to do our own event overseas with equipment and all that stuff. So we're really excited. We'll put more details out on what we're doing for that and how we're going to top our last 2 live shows. We're working on that already. And also the schedule hasn't been done yet, so we'll let you know when our panel is, and we will be hitting the ground running. And any help anyone wants to offer, if you're going to Celebration, to hand out cards or whatever to let people know to come to our show.
Street team.
Welcome. Yeah, Street Squad. We will welcome your help.
Street team.
Yes. So thanks for bringing that up, Lacey. It's crazy that was Friday. Friday announcement.
We were doing the notes for today, going through all the news that got announced, and I was like, I don't see this in the notes. And I'm like, oh my gosh, because it happened on Friday, the day after we did our episode.
Big show today. We have a Will of the Force that we're going to fire up right now with our buddy James Baney.
I fear nothing, for all this as the Force wills it.
I am very excited to be doing Will of the Force again this week, and part of the reason is because Will of the Force questions are sometimes, on occasion, submitted, mostly at least once every week, submitted by some of our patrons. And we're going to kick it off just right away with one of those Patreon submissions. This one coming from Commander Robert Murray. Robert asked us the question, one of the most exciting aspects of Kenobi was the reveal of the path, right? Will we learn more about it, see it again in live action, or learn more about how it worked in any of the upcoming live action shows? This one is going to start with Lacey. What do you think?
I think that we will hear more about it at some point. I can't get into specifics of when and where, but it's such a like it was such a clear moment that they wanted to bring attention to in Obi-Wan Kenobi that they have to be kind of giving hints that it's going to show up in other places or something from there is going to show up, whether it be a character we saw on the wall or something, because it was just such a big moment for Obi-Wan Kenobi and the series itself. So I'm going to say yes. And this is a great question because I didn't even think about this because we've just been like full steam ahead with all Star Wars. It's hard to like go back and kind of think about things. And I haven't had a chance to really do that with Kenobi. So this was a really great question, Robert, and I appreciate it.
John, do you agree?
Yeah, and yeah, thank you, Robert, Commander Robert. Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I think we will. It's a really good vehicle to use to explain a lot of things in terms of people avoiding the Empire post 66 between episodes 3 and 4. You can probably tell a lot of cool sort of coming together stories if people like find each other in this path, and the stories you can tell of sort of Jedi sneaking behind the scenes to hide away from the Empire. I think that's very interesting and thought-provoking in terms of what type of stories you can tell with other Jedi. Now, you know how I am. I wanted them to be careful with overusing how many Jedi survived. So I think there's going to be a delicate balance there, but it's definitely a good vehicle for them to employ. Now, whether they do that in comics or they feel there's a path for them to use the path in live action again, I'd be for it, but I think they're maybe trying to tread a little lightly and oversaturating the timeline here in between, because the more you add Jedi who were able to, escape or get through, the more you have to explain like why Yoda lied to Luke so much. So
he probably just didn't know, to be honest.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm open-minded to it. I'll say that. So that's where I'll leave it.
I think when it comes to where Kenobi is on the path, I mean, the path is still active, but just because certain people went through that path doesn't mean that they're still currently alive. So a lot of the names that you saw means they at one point traveled through there, but they could have made bold moves somewhere along the lines and got themselves killed,
Yeah.
So I think it's possible. As far as your question, Robert, I think we will learn more about it, but I'm very hesitant that it's going to show up in live action. I think it was to Lacey's point. She said, I didn't even think about it. I think to the larger audience, it's a really cool story when you're kind of when it's put in front of you, but I don't think it's one of the things coming out of the show that people were like,
right,
man, I really want to go back to that.
like,
And I want to learn more about that thing and how that all went down. One thing too that I thought was interesting about it was that I can translate Arbesh, and I really went digging to try to figure out if I could see those names, and I could not make out any names. And then I just saw people on like YouTube videos and Twitter and Reddit and all sorts of stuff saying that they saw all these names in there. And I don't know if I can or can't confirm, but it was like a lot of names, a lot of legends canonizing and stuff. And I was like, I don't know. So, I mean, that's cool. The only one that is for sure is the kid and his mom. Do you remember that one a little bit? Like right at the very beginning where they actually show the mom and the kid and
right.
I forget his name, is like trying to trick them or whatever. Yeah, but that has a pretty legend story that they're canonizing. But I don't think we're going to see it in live action, but I absolutely do think we're going to see it again in like comics or books or something along those lines. Before we go on to the next one, I'm going to send it back over to you, Lacey, because I think we have some super chats.
We do. We do. So first of all, we have Chibigon89. Danny, thank you so much for the super chat. And she says, I swear I could hear Lacey clearly saying, "How dare you," in my mind as I read today's podcast title. That would be accurate.
Danny,
Congrats
did
on the
you-
panel for celebration. Thank you, Danny. Appreciate it.
Danny, I talk about this on our spoiler alert upcoming poll chat on Patreon, but please do have a morning Ronto rap for me, and I hope you have a blast when you go back to Disneyland.
I love that the only reason John had one of those is because I got one for him.
Why do you have to like bring it back to like, oh, I gave it to you? It's like I ate it though, majestically, no messes whatsoever. Like you could have filmed that video and it would have sold 10 million more of those of me just eating it.
All right. Next up, we have Andrew Staley. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? Thanks for the super chat. He said, congrats on making the HoloNet news stage. Can't wait to be there. We can't wait to see you, Andrew. It's going to be so much fun.
It's going to be awesome.
And then we have Freezy2324. Thank you so much for the super chat, who said, Mark Hamill has missed the last couple of celebrations. Do you think he'll be at this one? Do you think Rosario Dawson will be there? I'm going to say yes, definitely Rosario Dawson, because Ahsoka's coming up, so it's like a no-brainer. As for Mark Hamill, I think he will be at this one. There's no reason he shouldn't be. I think the last few, he wasn't at him because there wasn't kind of a need for him to be there. With The Rise of Skywalker, they didn't need him there because he was technically, dead at that point. And then the last celebration, there was definitely a focus more on the Mandalorian and stuff like that. But I think that they could bring him in for autographing. It really depends on what his going cost is for autographs and if they have the budget to pay for him to be there.
I think he will definitely.
But
be
it's
there.
Return of the Jedi year too. So
that was my thing too. Is I was kind of not sure as far as who would show up to that panel, because if they are doing more Lucasfilm indie stuff, Harrison could be there, but probably
he will be
not.
there. Yeah.
Well, I mean, he might be there, but like, would he be in the 30th anniversary or 40th anniversary
40th,
for
Keep
Return
in
of
mind
the Jedi?
That 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. Obviously, 50th anniversary of Star Wars is going to be a big deal in 2027. But Mark Hamill is 71. Like it's going to be harder and harder for these legacy actors to travel and do all these big. Like even for us, it's like overwhelming. Like imagine being, as you're getting up there in age and having to like do all this traveling for these things. This might be the one he's like, I got to get to this one. The 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. It's sort of the end of my main story. I think he's definitely going to be there for that.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you for the super chat. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. And do they play taps in Canada, Freezy? Let us know. Thanks.
They do.
I'm going to give
Danny said they did.
A surprise one-word will of the Force. Will we get, because of the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi, I was thinking Warwick Davis could be there because he plays Wicket. But then I was thinking, will we get a Willow season 2 announcement at
that'd be cool.
Celebration? John, yes, no?
No.
Will Lacey?
I'm gonna say yes because I want it.
All right. I'm gonna say yes too. I think that could be cool.
I want it too,
right.
but I don't know.
All right. I'm gonna move on to the next one, and that's going to be, will C-3PO be in the next Star Wars movie? John, you're going first on this one. What Star Wars movie are you even talking about? Will he be in it though?
I think he will be in the next Star Wars movie. How about that?
All right. Okay. Lacey, what do you think?
Yeah, I think he will. I think he's just been a consistent character, and he's a very easy character to put in there to kind of draw it back to everything that's Star Wars-y. So I'm going to say yes. Yeah. Plus, Anthony Daniels will do any role, so I'm cool with that.
I'm going to say no. I think that it just will be a story that won't involve him, like Solo, for instance. Like, I think it will be something that just doesn't revolve around his character, because the next one, I don't get a feeling that it's like episode 10. So I'm going to say no, but I think he would be willing to return as the character in a live action movie. Yeah. All right, we got another Patreon submission. This is one of our patrons, specifically a Spice Runner. Get ready for the spicy. Andrew Staley is here, who was actually just gave us a super chat, which is amazing, Andrew. Thank you. Andrew wanted to know, will Lucasfilm announce Kathleen Kennedy's successor at Star Wars Celebration in April? So it's going to be big news. Lacey, what do you think?
No. And the reason is because Indiana Jones isn't out yet. I don't think they're going to transition her out until after Indiana Jones. It would be a very weird messaging to be like, I'm sticking around till after Indiana Jones, whereas internally that could be the case, but
they could still announce
externally-
the successor and her still be in place. But yeah, that's a good point.
it would be
It's
weird. It would kind
messaging.
of give a kind of a solemn sadness because like she's done so much for Lucasfilm and for Star Wars in general. Like it would be a weird thing to be like, it's my going away party. Like that's weird.
That's
So
a
I'm gonna
good
say
point.
no.
John, any thoughts on Kathleen Kennedy's successor being named at Star Wars Celebration?
I don't think her successor will be named, but I think they are going to reveal a new head of creative.
Like a job announcement at Celebration?
Yeah, I think when you look at what DC just did, and they have been if people
it's
just
James Gunn.
A disaster.
people who look at Lucasfilm and say like, oh, they're such a disaster. Like, look at DC, a complete train wreck for 10 years. They had an amazing Superman, and they couldn't figure out how to handle the greatest superhero of all time for a decade. And now they like reboot, and everyone seems to be like fired up about James Gunn and what they're doing. And they did this big announcement, these big phase, we're in charge of this, and blah, blah, blah. I think we're going to get something like, they brought up this writer's room. They mentioned that for DC. And we heard rumors about Lucasfilm having this writer's room with Damon Lindelof for these new movies. I think we're going to get that sort of thing at Celebration to really map out not just the future of live action and movies, but the future of creative at Lucasfilm. And I think it's going to look a lot different than what we're used to. So I don't think we're getting a president replacement thing. Kathleen Kennedy's signed through the end of 2024. She's been very successful. We may get something as that gets closer, as like, you know, like sort of like Bob Iger tried to do with Bob Chapek. Like, I'm going to stick around as chair, but we're going to bring in this guy. It's going to be like one of those like smooth transitions, but it's not yet. It's way too soon for that. But I think we are going to get some big creative announcements.
Imagine Kathleen Kennedy leaves and she goes, next behind me will be Bob Chapek.
She's like,
yeah,
Connie Kennedy, my twin sister. And everyone, like, all the trolls' heads explode. Like, no!
They get so upset, and then they realize they can keep using the same thumbnails for their videos. So it's
and she actually does have a twin sister. A lot of people don't know that. I think me and Lacey
brought her
found
to
out
the
for the first
premiere
time at
of-
Rise of Skywalker. Yeah,
Yeah, Rise of Skywalker. Yeah.
there was now there's two of them.
I think what you're saying is interesting, John, but I think it would be a dull announcement unless that person is massively famous on their own regard.
Maybe they are.
I know. I'm just saying, like, they can't be like Bob Young.
Sometimes I feel like John
or
puts
something,
questions
and it's
into the
like-
show because he knows something.
I don't.
So he
I
wants
don't.
to seem like he knows something before it's
No.
something.
No, I don't. I really don't.
I agree with Lacey. I don't think they're going to announce anything about Kathleen Kennedy's departure or successor or anything along those lines at Star Wars Celebration, because it's a celebration, and that would be when somebody announces their retirement or something, you know what I mean? I don't know that that's really like a celebration, and it puts a weird spin on things like I'm leaving and everybody's like celebration. Yay. You know, she's leaving.
It's weird. Yeah.
It's a weird transition there. So John's, I think, more right that they could announce something, but I don't see it being a random person. I would only see it if it's like a famous person or a famous person within Star Wars, like if it's a Dave Filoni or something like that, that a crowd could actually get excited for and cheer in a room. You know what I mean?
It's gonna be like five people, and they're all gonna walk out on stage. It's gonna be Damon Lindelof. It's gonna be Dave Filoni. It's gonna be like, here's our new team, our Fab
I
Five.
get what you're saying.
The
I get
future
what
of
you're saying.
movies. Yeah.
All right, guys, it's time for the thumbnail question. Will Din Djarin Mando himself die in The Mandalorian, or will he get a happily ever after ending? John, you get to go first on this one, actually. What do you think?
I wonder what John's going to say.
So there's logic to this, right? So here's the deal. He's dead. He will die by the end of The Mandalorian, probably the final episode, Wolverine style. Because Grogu needs to be released, so to speak, for the future, because I really do think they're going to use Grogu forever, and they're going to use him, pair him up with Rey. They're going to have all the legacy characters like Chewie in the mix there, post Rise of Skywalker, and having the Mandalorian around as like a 70-year-old Mandalorian doesn't make much sense. And I can't see the Mandalorian ending with him just being like, all right, I'm going to retire now and just chill out, and you go off and do your thing. I think he's going to die. It's going to be sad, but I think it'll be a nice end to that story. So that's what I think.
Lacey?
John's been saying he's going to die for like 2 to 3 years now. Like,
well, aren't they just killing everybody, Lacey?
Season 1, John has been putting this out there like, he's going to die. He's going to die. He's so going to die at the end of this. Says who? You're talking about Jon Favreau, who loves like happy endings and family stories. And you're like, yeah, this guy's going to die because Grogu needs to be on his own. Even though my favorite character is Han Solo with Chewbacca, and Chewbacca was with him the whole time, but like everybody's got to die.
Yes. What happened to Han Solo?
He died.
Yes, but how old was he when he died?
And when you and I debated whether Kylo Ren would die, what happened?
Yeah, but I'm not talking about that because Chris Terrio's a moron.
Oh!
I'm not talking about freaking Ben Solo dying. We're not even getting into that. It made no sense for the story whatsoever. Being said, no, the Mandalorian's not going to die. And I think Kyle Baker made a good point on Twitter, and I totally agree with him. And I've said this on the show. Jon Favreau called the Russos and were like, don't kill Iron Man. Don't kill him. Then you have people like James Gunn, who we were just talking about, who said, just because a story is ending, it doesn't mean the characters have to die. The story could just end. I think people are turning a corner on this thing that like your favorite popular characters have to die for the story to end. No, they don't. They could just, go off into the sunset and be wherever they're going to be. Because Grogu is going to go somewhere and then never show up in the sequel trilogy. So what's to say that he couldn't blast off into the space with the Mandalorian? Like, I don't understand why people have to die. So I'm going to say, no, he's not going to die. And because Jon Favreau would not find that hopeful, Dave Filoni would not find that hopeful, and George Lucas would not find that hopeful. Return of the Jedi. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Rest in peace, Qui-Gon.
Yeah.
George Lucas killed people? What are you talking about?
I'm not saying he didn't kill people, but the end of his story, they're all happily dancing at a campsite.
Not with Anakin. I was going to say.
And people in the chat are defending my comments on Chris Terrio. It's mostly on Michelle Redjwan, who was like, it's like so hopeful that he dies. Go back and watch the documentary. It's not hopeful, Michelle. Anyway, go ahead. James, sorry.
I still think there's a misunderstanding of the word hopeful sometimes, but let's talk about Mando, because I think in certain ways John is right that the best way to end that character is in their title show, because you have to separate Grogu and Mando at some point, whether it's of old age or not, and the best place to see that is probably on screen. And if you put him in another show doing it, then it takes away. So say like Mando is 70 years old and they just do Pedro's voice, and then he takes off his helmet and they age up his face or whatever, and they kill him off in that, then the Rey Grogu thing, it's weird to kill off Mando in Rey's movie. You know what I mean? Because it's going to take over the movie. But you have to kill off Mando at some point. He has to die because he's going to die before Grogu. Grogu's going to outlive him. So it's tricky. But I think it would be really terrible of them to do that in The Mandalorian, like season 4, after they just killed Ahsoka in Ahsoka, which also has to happen. Because that one is more likely to happen considering she's been around for so long. And when would that character ever die or disappear or whatever the story is going to be?
And her voice is in Rise of Skywalker.
Go away. Yeah. You can't. I think it would be really weird to have the Ahsoka TV show or whatever, or kill off that character and then immediately turn around and also kill off Mando. So I think Mando's gonna survive for at least a little while longer outside of the Mandalorian. So I'm ultimately going with Lacey.
And
really good points, John.
I hope Lacey's right, because I like the Mandalorian, but I'm just trying to think from a devil's advocate standpoint of storytelling. It's
it's tough.
It is tough. It really is. So I'm not like impassioned about like I hope he dies or something.
This is what I was just saying in the poll chat. Is every time someone goes against John, he has to reiterate that he doesn't hate that character. That there's nothing against that character.
You got to these days, Lacey. You got to. You got to protect yourself because people are always listening and watching. They're looking at ways to twist your words, and you got to be very, very careful, especially when you speak in nuance.
What
You're
is
welcome.
nuance about Mando's dying?
No, nuance is about like when it's like the all or nothing people like to do. There's
She
layers.
knows what
to
that
things.
means.
Yeah. No, I know. I'm saying with Mando, there's layers to this whole thing.
You literally said he's dying. What are the layers?
In terms of
The
how I
question
feel
was,
about
is he gonna die or not?
No, in terms of how I feel about it. I'm not like excited, but he's gonna die.
You've been
Sucks.
saying a lot for like 3 years.
I can't wait for him to die. No, I'm just kidding. That's it for Will of the Force, guys. That is going to wrap it up, and we are going to move on to the next section, which, believe it or not, I get to do it. Resistance Report.
It's the Resistance.
How does it go, Lacey? Thanks, James.
Thanks, James. Now we're gonna send it to James.
Now we're going to send it to James. All right. This week in the Resistance Report, we have a bunch of Mandalorian hype going on. There is new posters. There's a video that they put out on social media that if you like, you can get your you can get updates. But they put a nice little celebration of the Mandalorian, of all the time that it's had, all together in one little video for social. Get excited. And that was a fun watch. And we also even had Katie Sackhoff kind of publicly reacting to the poster on our buddy Christian Harloff's show. And so there is a lot to talk about. I don't know who wants to get started with this one, but let's get Lacey going on the poster. What's your first thoughts on that new poster, which I can bring up if you want to bring,
I think the poster looks amazing. Compared to the first poster, I love this one. I think it's more epic. It answers that question that everybody was yelling in caps of where's the Darksaber? He has it. Clearly has it. I love how they have Grogu kind of in the back with the little pod. But yeah, he looks so awesome. And you just kind of are like, oh my God, he's in space. It's got like that double moon look that we see in Star Wars, but just like all sci-fi
I'll just
in
pull it
general.
up. You can talk about it. Well,
yeah, sure. I just love it. And it's going in that whole kind of color scheme that they have for season 3, which is like the green to orange, like yellow look compared to season 2, which was more teal, and season 1, which is like that reddish orange. But yeah, oh my gosh, he looks so epic, like just ready to take on the day with his blaster and the Darksaber. It's just so killer.
And John, do you have any, what are your thoughts on the poster?
Yeah, I like it too because one, it's not one of those face mash things where you just put like every person who's ever in the show in the poster. I don't really
that
like
really started with like The Force Awakens, I feel.
Yeah.
Oh, long before. I mean, in Star Wars, yeah.
Get that poster back up there right now. How dare you?
All right,
not that one.
That's the old one. All right.
Yeah. All right. So it feels very, galactic. It feels very dangerous. It feels unsettling. And I like the fact that he is holding the Darksaber with one hand. He has total control of this thing right now, which is in everything you hear and see about this in canon, it's not an easy lightsaber to wield or handle. And then I like the fact that there's really aggressive, sharp terrain here. Did they crash land there? It just, everything about this seems unsettling. Like this isn't like, you're landing on the beaches of Naboo. This is whatever they're into here. It looks like it's going to be pretty chaotic and dangerous. And Grogu's like, he's not ready to come out yet. He's like, you check it out first. I'll be here in my bulletproof little dome. And then when we're good to go, let me know and I'll force push people around. But I think it's a really cool poster. If I had room on my wall, I'd probably put it up there. But it's and the color scheme's cool too as well. But I like how he has blaster and Darksaber you know, just in case you got to use
I hope
both.
they give it out at Celebration. It's like a real perfect Celebration poster.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
that'd
I
be
mean
really cool.
they have the both posters now, so it's like they could do a third one, or they have
Yeah.
to pick from one of these two. But
Well, remember we were speculating, or at least I was incorrectly, that I thought that first one looked like it was a part of a bigger mural, like the old Taco Bell
right.
prequel posters, but it isn't. But you just reminded me that first poster, I was giving you a hard time, but that first poster is really cool too. He's got the jetpack. They're just like reminding everybody, look at how many things Mando has.
He's like Inspector Gadget.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's James Bond. He's whatever.
Enjoy that reference.
Very cool.
does
Very,
he have
very
the Darksaber here? It doesn't look like it's attached.
Though that's what
Yep.
everybody was questioning, and then
back
the
there
second
somewhere?
poster.
Yeah,
I think they
Mhm.
made the second poster to be like, he has it. Don't worry about it.
Oh, that's a good point. When I saw this poster, it was immediately like, whoa, fantasy. I think it's because of those that you know, the giant planets in the back. You don't normally I mean, you do. Obviously, there's times in Star Wars where you see the planets floating above the other planets, but something about the way this was, and there's like the moon there too, is like it's just not that common. And it made me think this is probably the most fantasy poster I can remember of Star Wars since the very first one, with like Luke holding the lightsaber above his head. And it's like, that doesn't feel like it's out of the movie. It feels like it's just out of a fantasy drawing of, you know.
I see some of the comments in the live chat. People like are asking me, like David Probus said, John, can we get a print of that thumbnail? Like maybe like we'll do something for Patreon or whatever. But
Yeah.
I refuse to hand out that
title
thumbnail.
of the episode, and James just fired that right over at us with that spinning head in the air. I'm just like, and I'm dead. That's all James, man. So.
Yeah, but I do like the poster. I think it was really cool, and as all the points that you guys said, as far as like him holding the Darksaber, it's like, oh, he's using it. That's cool. Oh, he's using it one-handed. You know, I think this is a symbol to say, get ready for this season, because he is going to own that thing. It's going to become his saber. Don't expect episode 1 where something happens and he hands it over to Bo-Katan, and then the rest of the season goes on. That's his lightsaber. So get used to it.
Can I talk about the reel they released?
Yeah, I was gonna say about the hype video. What do you got?
The poster's awesome. I loved this video so much more. I felt like it kind of encapsulates everything that all of us feel about The Mandalorian. And it was so crazy to see the journey The Mandalorian has had as a project, from like Celebration, where we were all in that panel that they showed like the first footage of it, and Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau came out on screen, on the stage and everything, and like introduced what it was all about. And they had Pedro there. It was just such a crazy experience to be like, we're getting Star Wars television. This is insane. And then to just see how everything's transpired over the past few years, of like how big it's gotten, how Baby Yoda is everywhere now, Grogu obviously, and just how cool it is. And the one quote that really stuck out to me was Jon Favreau saying, it's about becoming part of something larger than yourself. And I feel like that's the Star Wars community in general. It's like we all have obviously our podcasts and YouTube pages and cosplay and all these other things that, like, there are different ways all of us get into Star Wars, but yet we're all a part of something bigger. And I was just like, that's just a perfect way to explain it. And I also think that's why Mando won't die. Thank you so much.
John, what did you think of the hype video? Did you think it was nothing more than a publishing like piece, or did you think there was anything special to it?
I mean, I think, I don't, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think any of the quotes were like new. I think that was all stuff from the gallery and old interviews, but it was a nice refresher and reminder. I agree with Lacey in terms of like that journey, because it's been, you know, it's pre-pandemic when that thing came out, and it's just crazy how much time has passed, and it feels like The Mandalorian just arrived, and it was really almost 4 years ago now. And I had my reservations about it. I was like, they're really doing their first live action Star Wars series about a random Mandalorian, and I said Mandalorian and all that stuff, and it's funny how far it's come. And John, you know, if you just like erase what we know and just say like, just so everyone like sit back and realize, Jon Favreau is currently writing and show running a live action Star Wars show with help from Dave Filoni that is starring Pedro Pascal, and it has a Baby Yoda in it. And just think about those 4 things. And those 4 things alone. And it's happening now. And we're getting a new set of 8 episodes starting in less than a month. It's absolutely wild that we are less than a month away from that. And I think we take that stuff for granted sometimes. And I noticed, during the run of, Andor, some people decided like, oh, we're going to take shots at the Mandalorian now because this is theater. This is real adult Star Wars. And it's just like, no, you're about to get hit with the Elvis of Star Wars again, and it's coming back. Until movies come back, this is the big show. This is the big ticket, Mandalorian, and I'm very excited. And I think my favorite part of that little clip session, aside from the creators talking about it, was seeing those like talk shows and stuff where you have those hosts who are given those little pieces of facts because they don't watch Star Wars, and they try to like sound in the know, and they make their little quips and stuff like that. And just seeing how it transcended Star Wars. It goes beyond Star Wars. You see NFL players talking about it. You see people on radio shows talking about it. And you don't see like people doing that with even Obi-Wan or Andor stuff. Like Mandalorian changed the game, and people can say, "Oh, it's because of the cute little Baby Yoda thing." It's like, yeah, but they also sold us on a true relationship between those 2 characters, and I think we're just scratching the surface because I think we're getting a lot deeper with it. And but yeah, it was a nice little hype video. I'm ready to go though. I don't need any more trailers. I don't need anything.
I think the thing for me about the hype video was that I watched it, and in the middle of it, I had this thought, man, I like imagine a parallel world where everybody reacted this way for all the Star Wars content. Like all the movies,
right. I get it.
All the TV shows. I was
Bad
like,
Batch,
if
yeah.
every one of the, not even to that, I'm just talking about like the live action, the Kenobis, the Andors, the Book of Boba Fett's, and the sequel trilogy and all that. Like if it was just like every time there's a new property coming out, or they're doing episode 8 or 9, whatever it is, it was just this real. And then I thought, John, you said you don't see other people doing this. I'm like, but you probably could. You know what I mean? You could probably find clips from Good Morning America of people saying like, he's back, Kenobi, we're all excited. You know what I mean? You could cut that into a piece, but I wouldn't believe it. And I watched this and I was like, everybody in this is 100% real. And they're very excited, and they have the opportunity to talk about Mandalorian and not like we're having Ewan McGregor. He's going to talk about his new show, which is Kenobi, and I'm excited for it. But it's like, I got the feeling like when you watch that everything in this is very real, and everybody is actually very excited about this piece of Star Wars content. It's the one, we've said this numerous times, but it's the one that sort of unites everybody. To say like, at least there's Mandalorian's killing it. And it's like that shred of hope for everything else. Like if you don't like these other shows, at least Lucasfilm, we know that Lucasfilm can do good Star Wars because they're doing the Mandalorian, so.
Right.
That is what's going on there. John, you were the one that sent over the Katie Sackhoff thing. And then after you sent it over, not because it was in the show notes, but I did see it in my feed, and I thought that was pretty cool. Did you guys like her reaction to the poster?
The poster I retweeted, I thought that was hilarious, where she's like, now he's just making fun of me or something like this, or like now she's making me look bad.
Yeah. I thought it was she seems a nerd like us, and I
he's just taunting me. That's what she said.
Yeah. I love when Star Wars actors are really into what they're doing, and she really loves being Bo-Katan, and she seems so into it. And I like that she's talking in character when she's on just a show. It's not like, oh, he's taunting Bo-Katan. She's like, no, he's taunting me. And I really think that was really cool. So that was a fun clip. I'm glad we were able to spotlight that. That was on Christian Harloff's.
Christian's killing it, getting the people. He had Diego and Katie.
Yeah,
he said Katie a couple times actually.
Yeah, he's longtime friends with Katie for other reasons, even beyond. Yeah, but before we get to our next story, moving out of the Mandalorian, I do want to see if we have any super chats, Lacey.
We do.
Great.
So first we have Miles. Hey Miles, great name. Thanks for the super chat. He says, "Will Star Wars go all out big in 2027? #50th year." Yes, I think so. I think that's an easy yes.
Yeah,
50 years.
They have to.
I'm like feeling. I know it's not me being 50, but like I feel old just hearing that. 'Cause
Yeah.
that's crazy. But I mean, we're supposed to get a Star Wars movie that year. That's going to be bananas.
I mean, that's a big number, and it's also like 50 is a big number for anything. You're doing your 50th year of anything, and
Right.
then it's not 50th of Revenge of the Sith. You know, great movie, but it's the 50th of the original
Star Wars.
original
Mhm.
Star Wars. You know what I mean? That and it kicks off the celebration for the 50th Empire, the 50th Return of the Jedi. You know, it's just going to get really crazy, and it's a big kickoff event. They are going to go all out big. Yes, Miles.
Yeah, and I mean, George Lucas will be like 83 at that time, so hopefully he's alive, well, and healthy, and able to see that, because even though he seemed still a bit jaded at the 40th anniversary in 2017, he still seemed to have a real good time at that panel, talking with Mark and Harrison and everybody who was there, and you know, reminiscing on Carrie and all that. John Williams was there, all that cool stuff.
Right.
I think being able to see George Lucas be embraced and celebrated, because that, like you said, James, you nail on the head. It's not just 50th anniversary of a Star Wars movie; it's 50th anniversary of Star Wars. Period.
Yeah,
And that's such a big deal, because it's been, everyone in this chat, it's been a part of our lives for forever. Maybe some people not so much, but the minute you saw it, it hooked its claws into us and hasn't let go, and for good reason. And we're here talking about it, so I'm excited to see what they do with that. But I think they'll go big too. I just don't know what. Maybe a big theater re-release would be cool. Maybe, I don't know.
Oh, that would be interesting. They also could, and they probably will not, but they could do a release of the originals, like the uncut special
That
editions.
Star Wars VizComp guy would lose his mind.
Yeah. But one thing that I did think is I think this is going to be a Disney Plus doc.
That'd be cool.
I think they'll start shooting soon, or they're already in the process of getting that stuff together, doing the interviews. That's going to have, you know, your James Camerons and your other big directors and producers,
Talking about how it impacted them. Yeah.
Yeah, talking about the whole industry. You'll get all the celebrities across the board to say like what it meant to the industry. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's the one. And then you could also, not just celebrities, but Star Wars celebrities, get all the actors that you can from the prequels to the sequels to the originals, you know, and you'll get it all in one big epic tale that they'll release on Disney Plus on May the 4th, 2027, probably.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
Thanks, Miles. We have another super chat from nerdy_Seb. Thank you for the super chat. Who said, "Good to see you guys. Beautiful poster." Good to see you too. Thanks for joining us. I also just saw that you put that you're going to be 25 in 2027. Seb, you really, really hurts when you say that.
I feel like I just drank from the wrong cup at the end of Indiana Jones.
I do have to note that Miss Sunflower in the chat saying, "Let Mando die in a movie." I got to stick by myself from years ago. I think Mando's ending in a movie. I really do. Standing by that.
So,
anyway, back to the news.
Like they do season 4, and then they do a Mando movie, and he dies in the movie.
No, I'm just saying there's going to be a movie. I don't say he dies.
Oh, okay.
She's saying he dies.
I was right about to be like, why don't you just let him ride off into the sunset, Lacey?
No. He wouldn't die. I was saying the movie part.
All right, guys. Who is excited for Star Wars Visions? Because we got an announcement this week that it is returning on May the 4th. 9 new episodes, and it was announced by Star Wars. So this is not like a Hollywood Reporter thing. This is official. We got all the studios involved, which kind of gives us a glimpse into what we're gonna see, because you look at some of those studios and you're like, these guys did Wallace and Gromit, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's like, what everybody was saying. That was everybody's response.
That's like the big one. Yeah. But not only that, but we get our first look at the titles of the episodes, and a little bit more about who's actually producing them as far as writer, director, and all that stuff. This was a big announcement coming out of Visions, and I'm going to kick it off with you, John. What were your thoughts on the announcement for Star Wars Visions on May 4th?
I really like this stuff because, again, it is bulletproof in terms of the, you know, obsession with canon and stuff like that. They can get as weird as they possibly want with these, and it doesn't matter. You know, give me more helicopter lightsabers. Get as weird. Give me a lightsaber that shoots blaster bolts. Like get as weird as you possibly want to with this stuff. And I like it because I've never been that big of an anime fan, and it sort of allowed me to watch this with that Star Wars lens over it, and it drew me in a way that style of storytelling that I probably wouldn't have given a chance otherwise. Because you know, I have a lot of friends who love anime, and you know, my friend Kelly's obsessed with it, and I just was I was like, you know, I've tried, I can't get into it. There's so it seems to be so many stories and so overwhelming. James, kind of how you felt with Star Wars before they, you know, wiped it clean or whatever. You know,
Yeah,
it's
but
like
you're talking about a style, not just like one. I was talking about one franchise.
no, I know, but there are some like long lasting
y-
stories, continuities
Yeah, I
of,
guess
you
so.
know,
I guess
anime
I
and
see what
stuff.
you're saying. It's like
But
starting
you
to
know,
read Naruto or something. You're like, oh my god, so many
yeah,
seasons.
it's overwhelming. But
Holy
I enjoyed Visions, and there was a couple that I really liked a lot, and the animation styles were really cool, and I liked that again, it's not beholden to anything. They could do anything they want with it, and I think that's really awesome. Even like the rock band concert thing they did.
Mhm.
So I'm just excited to see how far they push the envelope, because again, there's no limits, so go for it. Get as weird as you possibly can. I want to see how weird they get.
Yeah, Lacey, thoughts on Visions? You were the person that sort of did our official reaction to Visions
Hmm.
initially, because you were probably the most passionate about out of the three of us. So, what
Yeah,
are
I
your
loved
thoughts on
it.
this announcement?
I'm so hyped about this. And when Disney sent us kind of the overview of what's coming this year, and there was a Visions logo in there, I was so fast to tweet out like, "Oh my God, we're getting Visions! Here's who's gonna," because they announced what kind of what countries were being involved, and that it was coming out spring 2023. They didn't release May 4th, obviously, but I think it's a
Yeah.
perfect project for May the 4th, because there's so many different obviously countries, people that are really coming together to celebrate Star Wars. It's like so perfect for that timing. Like James said, I was one of the people that looked at it and said, wow, the Wallace and Gromit guys are in here. That's crazy.
Mhm.
But other than that, I mean, everybody in here is so talented. They have so many crazy things that they've done. Like someone worked on Ice Age and Finding Nemo, and
Yeah, which real quick, the Wallace and Gromit thing. If you don't know what that is, that's stop animation, so like claymation, like
Clay.
Gumby
Yeah.
or something. So that kind of gives us a look at like what you could expect. Expect to see claymation Star Wars, basically. So that's interesting for that regard. But Lacey, you brought up another one, 3D animation. We didn't get anything like that in Visions
Right. It was
1.
very 2D. Yeah.
So that's like a Toy Story style of animation. It looks great.
Yeah. I can't wait. I really hope personally that there's like one of these stories is a romance, because I'm always rooting for that in Star Wars. We
Mhm.
never get enough of that. But as long as they're fun and different and weird, I love weird Star Wars, and I'll take it. I love my anime weird too. Like I love anime, and I love when it gets just so out there that like I don't know, like a normal person would be like, "What is going on?" I love it. Give me all that weird stuff. I love Spirited Away, where it gets super weird, and like all the different Studio Ghibli stuff. Um, but yeah, I'm hyped for this, James, and I don't know how, but I plan to do reviews of each of these, because I'm gonna just try to watch them all at once. I'll probably be taking the day off this day.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, May the 4th for sure. Um, uh, I haven't had the full opportunity to really look through these as far as like look at this person, look at what they've done.
Right.
I did go through there and I was like, claymation, that's interesting. Oh, 3D animation, that's interesting. So I was like, not only does it seem like we're getting new stories, but it also seems like they're stepping into the world of more animation styles that exist. It's almost as if they're not looking to just represent a country, but they're also representing all sorts of different styles of animation as well. Like Star Wars doesn't do this. Let's get Star Wars involved with this type of storytelling as well. So I was excited about that. I also noticed it looks like none of these are sequels to previous Vision
No,
stories,
Yeah.
which they
which
had
is
hinted at
interesting.
previously, that there were more stories to tell from some of the studios.
So the
So I
one
wonder if they'll get that in
director,
the next volume.
so the one director for the Ninth Jedi was pretty adamant about wanting to continue that story. And correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think that person is involved. It doesn't look like they are. Or that
Not
or
in this
that.
volume.
Yeah, not in this volume. They could in the future, but it
Mhm.
does seem clear to me that with the announcement of what we're getting in season 2, that it's not intended that any of the storylines are going to carry through. So I still expect season 3 to be different yet again, and not to expect repeats. But one other one that I thought was kind of interesting was the studio. That the people were involved as far as Star Wars Rebels and Star Wars
Yes,
Clone Wars
Yeah.
and stuff. And I was like, so it's kind of like Star Wars doing Star Wars again. That's kind of interesting. And we've definitely got plenty of that. So I was like, I'm kind of wondering what that person is planning or what that story is planning to be. That we haven't already gotten a million times. Now they can explore different things, obviously. Like Lacey, you brought up romance, which I think is huge. I'm sort of surprised. I'd have to kind of rethink that there was no romance stories in the first Visions.
There was the one where the two are getting married. I'm blanking on the title.
The Village Bride.
The Village Bride, yeah, where the two people get married.
But did they get married at the end? Wasn't there kind of like a twist to that story or something? Maybe not.
There weren't any overly romantic ones. I'll say that.
Yeah, there wasn't like destiny and they end up getting together at the end or anything like that.
Right.
And that is a huge part of Star Wars that hasn't been explored yet. So I'm with you on that. I hope that gets covered here. But there is a lot to look forward to in Visions season 2, and now that we know it's coming, we can look forward to it even more.
All in one drop,
however,
right?
What?
All in one day. The drop,
I think they released them all at once.
Yeah.
But as we get into the next story,
which is a bummer,
I'm happy that the Star Wars timeline of releases are stretching out a little bit.
Oh, what do you mean by that?
Because the next story with Jedi Survivor being delayed, everything was happening in March, and now everything is kind of spreading out a little bit more.
Yes. This is I'm going to preface this by saying this is good news, because no one I think was complaining about this in reality. And Lacey said it there. Jedi Survivor is going to be delayed. That's coming from the studio. It was supposed to be March 17th, but they are now releasing April 28th, which is
give us more
6
time
weeks
to focus on things before jumping to the next thing. Yeah,
very clear. I think, I read through all the comments on there, and it was a whole bunch of like, better delayed than buggy. You take all the time you need. We just want it to be perfect. Why would anybody want it 6 weeks early if it's not finished, or it's not the way that it's supposed to be?
Right.
And we've gotten so many Star Wars announcements like this where it's like, hey, episode 7 is coming out in May, and then it's like, never mind, we're pushing it to December. And it's like, at the end of the day, who cares, right?
We're still gonna get it.
You're still gonna get it, and they need to finish it. And why would anybody rush a studio or anything like that to get it done? And this is a measly 6 weeks, which is annoying if you were like right on the precipice, like, sorry, it was supposed to be out tomorrow, it's not coming out for another 6 weeks. That would suck. We're far enough out that it's like, okay, we're just gonna switch the dates in our head. I don't know, John, what did you think about this announcement?
Good, very good. In the grand scheme of things, like, it's not a long period of time. If they'd said 6 months or a year, I would understand. And I know people
Even
are
then,
itching for it. People probably, if they were going to Celebration, they were probably looking to maybe like do some play at Celebration. I get all that stuff.
Now you get to test it. Then they're still going to have testing there.
You think so? That's cool.
Oh yeah, they'll still have a booth.
I mean, they could have done what Eclipse did and said 6 years.
Oh yeah,
get hyped for this game. It's coming out in 2028.
Yeah, I don't think that's that big of a deal. I understand people being bummed, and that's legit. But it looks like they're doing the right thing, and they want to make sure that they're putting out a quality product, because it would have been a real bummer if they put it out and there was glitches and a lot of misfires with certain transitions or graphics and stuff like that, or gameplay. So I think that's cool that they're owning it. They put it out there themselves, so it wasn't something that came from a leak or anything. They're like, hey, here's the deal. You know, we thought we had it for St. Patrick's Day. Turns out we don't. I think that's totally okay. And if they hadn't put out a release date, no one would have known the difference. So it's good to see a studio, instead of cutting corners, them saying like, let us give this another round. Let's send us through all the departments and make sure that we're smoothing out all the rough edges and getting this thing right, because people are really excited about this game. And it is like right now the prestige Star Wars video game. It's the flagship. You know, Jedi Fallen Order seemed to be sort of like you said about the Mandalorian, James, very beloved by everybody.
Right.
There weren't that many detractors.
It
So,
topped Battlefront for sure.
yeah, it has
my opinion.
it universally liked, it seems. It has, you know, big shoes to continue. And we know Cameron Monaghan, you know, there's rumors about him potentially doing a live action jump. So they need to treat this one the right way. And it's just cool to see that they are doing it. So now I have more time to start playing the first one. So that's very good for me too.
Lacey, any other thoughts on Jedi Survivor?
Not many. I'm just pumped that they're taking their time and doing it the right way. Like, I have no problem with anybody saying, hey, I need more time to get it right.
Yeah. The only thing for me, the last thing was that this actually was in a way sort of an announcement as well, which is something I complained about recently on the show, saying I just wish they would just say these things. Like, I don't know why we need to hear it from some people. Why don't they just come out and say it? Now, in this case, they had to, but in this post, they also said, we've basically wrapped principal photography. Like, we finished, the game is finished. We're very excited about it. We're using the next 6 weeks just to tweak out the bugs, but it started with, it's like the compliment sandwich thing. We're starting with, hey, we just want to let everybody know the game is done. Hooray. Get excited. We're very proud of what we did. It's now finished. And then they threw in but to get it right, we're going to fix the bugs and get it to you a little bit later. But I was excited to see, it got me thinking about this massive team that's been working for a very long time. And they just had like a big party to say, I mean, I don't know if they did or not, but you know what I mean? They finished it. It's like, that stage of this development is done. And all we're doing now is putting the final touches on things,
Right.
getting it right. And so this is the best period of time for them, heading into the actual release of the game. So, yep, very excited there. Our next thing that we wanted to talk about are some of the latest Hasbro reveals. This is for Return of the Jedi, the anniversary figures, more clone troopers, and Sam Witwer's Start Killer. Even more than that, we brought up the pictures, but Lacey is kind of our town hero when it comes to Hasbro. I don't know how to explain. Town hero,
The hoarder of the group.
yeah. But Lacey, you kind of have a relationship with Hasbro. What's going on, and what should we look forward to seeing? And tell me what to pull up.
Yeah, so they made a bunch of announcements on their fan stream this past Wednesday, aka yesterday. It was interesting that they had the comments and the live chat turned off, because that's the first time I've ever
We're
seen
not
that
going to talk about that
on a Hasbro stream. It was just very weird, because usually I'm like in the chat with people like while it's live and getting excited for toys and stuff.
Yeah, go watch our
and
last State of Star Wars episode.
It felt very
details.
lonely watching this live stream. Anyway, that being said,
Yeah.
they announced some really cool stuff with Return of the Jedi coming out, or not coming out, but the 40th anniversary being this year. They're getting hyped up for it, which is totally natural. First up is the Star Wars Celebration Darth Vader Revenge of the Jedi figure. So this is based on, there it is right there. It's based on that infamous poster that was a misprint. That's a very valuable collectible of Revenge of the Jedi, which was the original name. But then George Lucas was like, revenge doesn't sound like something the Jedi would do. So then it turned into Return of the Jedi. So they're taking the color of the posters. James, if you could flip to the box itself. The poster itself, there it is. And kind of printing it onto Darth Vader. So it's really cool. It runs $33.99. It comes with a cool original design, color palette of the original poster. And they can display it with, they say fans can display it either in the box or out of the box. And their new process with boxes, as everyone knows, is that they don't have any plastic in them. So if you switch back to the box, there's no plastic in there. So you can just display him as is inside the box. He comes with a lightsaber. It's cool. I'm going to be honest, it's obviously the mold of Darth Vader that they've done for many other figures. I have a couple of them. I think I have the 40th anniversary one, as well as the graphite Darth Vader that I have. So those are both the same figure. They just do different, Art Deco on them. This is that. So, but it is a cool exclusive. People are going to go crazy for it. I thought it was really cool. However, my favorite thing that they announced, per usual, is kind of the cosplay type pieces that kind of let you be a part of the world, whether it be a lightsaber or a helmet. So this one was the Black Series Scout Trooper Premium Electronic Helmet. This thing is $131.99. They got to get you that 99 cents because that's what they
Wow.
claim per sales, is that if they put in 99, people are like, oh, it's only 99 cents. However, it is not. It's $131.99. But it is a full premium role play helmet inspired by Star Wars Return of the Jedi and features premium deco, realistic detail, movie inspired design, and electronic voice distortion. So fans and collectors can have their voice sound just like a Scout Trooper. They showed this with Chris from the team, the Star Wars Hasbro team, on the stream itself, and he put it on and everything. It is really, really cool. I will be getting one of these. I don't know where I'm going to get the money for it, but I'm going to get one, and it's going to be amazing.
I
just
that
like
box art. The green, it pops. Looks
Yeah.
so good.
The packaging for Hasbro lately has been killer. They've done such a good job, and I love how all their pieces go together, whether it be figures or because they have the Mandalorian is that kind of orange look that goes into each character on the
Mhm.
side. I think the team has thought really well about how people can display their figures in the box or out of the box. This helmet, if I get it, will be out of the box. It will be on my head. It
Mhm.
closes so cool too. It has like that front close. It's like the DeLorean of helmets. But yeah, it was the two coolest things I think they announced. Obviously, people have different preferences. They had like a Mandalorian prototype figure that comes with different colored pieces that you collect and you can mix and match them. They have a Han Solo 40th anniversary, a Return of the Jedi, a vintage collection Han, as well as Weequay, and a couple other ones. And there's also another trooper, which everyone always makes a joke about because they're like, okay, just keep printing them.
The face of Han looks pretty good. I think the Star Killer looks like a villain from Team America World Police. I don't think that looks like Sam Witwer, but it is funny seeing the clone trooper stuff again, and you can't blame them for using the Vader. A lot of controversy over the Rebel Trooper on Endor because of the whole Rex Nick Sant thing.
Right.
So I find that to be interesting. It's just a trooper. But I think the coolest one, I don't know why, because it looks like his outfit feels like it's like has real cloth, is the Admiral Piet. Like you finally have someone for Vader to choke out. So you can use your Revenge of the Sith Vader or your normal Vader and have him choke the hell out of Admiral Piet and have him drop to the floor. So there you
Yeah.
go.
I mean, these figures aren't cheap though, so get ready to spend some money.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's it.
I love that helmet. I love the Vader thing. Although I seeing it, I have a hard time putting together if he's red or if they're using a red light to light him. But he's red.
He is red.
Red.
He's like
yeah.
got reddish
Yeah.
tones on him. Yeah.
But
And then they
in
have the
picture,
Hamlet
it
Vader
just
too.
looks like they're what?
They have like the Hamlet Vader, the other Vader, the vintage collection one where he's
Yes.
unmasked and he's like
Mm.
holding his helmet in that
Yes.
dramatic pose. Very interesting.
All right, guys. Well, that is it for Resistance Report this week. I'm gonna send it back to John to wrap up the show. John?
Yeah. Well, I don't have much to add. I know we're up on time as it is anyway, but one thing I will say is no spoilers. I did start The Last of Us and I never played the game.
Mhm.
I don't know anything about it. I highly recommend it if you have the ability to watch it, especially if you need your Pedro Pascal fix sooner than later. He is tremendous in that show, and it gets me even more excited for the Return of the Mandalorian, which, yeah, he was filming this while they were doing the Mandalorian, so they had to use the stunt guys again and that sort of thing. But it just shows the team effort that they're doing with Mando, which I think is cool. But The Last of Us, I'm only one episode in, but it was like an hour and a half. And I think that show is so heavy that I can only do one at a time. I can't binge that thing. So I'm excited to maybe start after we record tonight, depending on how late we go to check out the second episode. But I recommend it if you're able to watch it, even if you never played the game. I never did. I didn't know anything about it, and I went in, and it's really cool. Pedro Pascal's new show on HBO. So that's all I got. I don't know if you guys have anything else you want to toss out there.
I get such anxiety about like zombie stuff and horror things that I want to like it, but the anxiety of like going down a dark hallway and not knowing what's at the end of the hallway, I can't.
It hits home to the whole like, pandemic, if things were like worse. So, like, it definitely hits that nerve in you, the anxiety. It will give you anxiety. Like it does for sure. But
I get
really...
I get the updates and summaries and stuff from people online. So like I know what has happened in the show, and I think I watched good chunks of the last episode, Nick Offerman, just because I love him. And I've heard wonderful things about him in that show.
I watched the first 2 episodes. Haven't seen the third one yet, though. I don't know. It seemed fine to me. I wasn't like blown away by it or anything. I thought it was a good show for HBO. But I'm always curious when it comes to shows like that to see how they're received, because they have that original source material that people hold so dearly. So it's always one of those things like, how's this Halo show going to go? How's this Lord of the Rings show going to go? It's always kind of interesting when it comes to that aspect. But it seems as of now that it is pretty good. And I was also a little bit interested too, because I knew we were going to I knew like in this episode we were going to talk about that, like how long will Djarin be around and all that conversation. And I knew that in this show he plays like a character that's 10 years younger than he is in real life, and then skips to 10 years older than he is in real life. So it's like a 20-year gap. And I'm like, he pulls it off pretty well and believable. And then you also have the Mandalorian, who doesn't even show his face 90% of the time or more. So it's like, it does lead me to believe that Pedro Pascal, the older he gets, the more believable you can have him around as an older Mandalorian, even if he's not even in the show and he's just providing his voice. So, but it all comes together. And speaking of things that come together, before we truly wrap up the show, I want to see if we have any more super chats.
We do. First up, we have Christian. Thank you, Christian, who says, this is a super chat comment. Love you guys. We love you too, Christian.
Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Then we have Diana, who said, just cuz. Thanks, Diana.
That's awesome.
And then we have Nick, who said, super train.
See, Diana did $4.99, and I was confused about the price. I thought it was 99 cents.
It's not confused. It's you think it's cheaper because you put in 99. It's a visual thing that people tell you to do.
No, great, and awesome. Thank you, Diana.
Thank you, everybody. Yep. So that will take us to the end of the show. So I want to thank everybody for listening and watching and being a part of TRB. Hope if you joined us live, you had a good time in the chat. But worry not if you were late. It will be on the channel immediately. And of course, tomorrow morning for you audio listeners, I know a lot of people reach out to us saying like, I really wanted to like watch your live show, but you helped me on my ride to work. And a lot of people are going back to the office, myself included. I don't listen to our podcast. Last thing I need to do is listen to myself. So, but to the people who do, appreciate that. So make sure you do subscribe to your audio platforms. It will be up tomorrow morning as soon as I can get that out to you. And you can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey, and my movie podcast, Just Like the Movies. We just did Fight Club, and we're doing Roadhouse next, which is an absolutely insanely ridiculous movie from Patrick Swayze in 1989. James, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram, both at Myra Trunks. I wish I could change that. Elon, let me change it.
Yeah, Lacey.
First, for the people in the chat and watching right now, make sure to like this video. We really appreciate it, and subscribe so you don't miss anything. We know people are still trying to find where we went because supposedly we disappeared. We didn't, I promise you. That being said, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran. I've been putting up a lot of fun reels and stuff, so check that out. And on TikTok at It's Lacey Gilleran.
And we're at TRB Podcasts everywhere on social media. And we're not done talking Din Djarin. Yeah, we talked about will he die, but now this coming Monday for our discussion show, we're going to talk about his legacy. Will Din Djarin's legacy be? We will get into that on Monday. But before that, we hope everyone has a wonderful weekend. Thank you for stopping by the base. And until next time, from the three of us here on the Resistance broadcast, we'll see you around, kids.